Hi, for those who are just really watching this series, hi. It's been a long while since I've done one of these and still using my source material, which is always good. But yeah, I thought it's about time I carried on with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights information, and just wanted to share that with you, obviously with glasses, as mentioned in the last video, because I need to read. If you haven't seen those videos already, you can get the first part there, and the second part there. So yeah, just click on those, and I'll take you directly to the first and second ones. The first one is a lot of sort of setup and I don't cover much off. The second one's really quite a good plough, and I'll see if I can do the same for this one. So without further ado, we left it before at Article 10, so now Article 11, which is a big one. I think that's why I left it there, to be honest. So here is the wording. So yeah, two parts then, really. Obviously the first part, as we sort of left off with the last one almost, everyone's sort of entitled to a fair trial, but this is the old innocent till proven guilty, which a lot of the time I see it kind of going the other way. Now that might be just my experience, but I have seen far too many situations where it's actually seemed quite the opposite to that. So yeah, Article 11, subsection 1, quotes left, right and centre if you've ever been affected by that. And then the second part is where it gets a bit weirder, because it's basically saying, well, say tomorrow having glasses became a criminal offence. If I stopped wearing glasses as of that point, they couldn't go, I've seen that video after the point. Well, yeah, but I wasn't wearing them at that point. Which is quite fair, really, because you can't be guilty of something before it's something to be guilty of. So, Article 12. Yeah. You are entitled to your own space. This is where things such as, for example, landlords having to give you notice before coming in to the property. This is why that's there, basically, or at least from my understanding. As I said in the first video, I'm not legally trained. I'm coming at this from someone who's perhaps picked up bits of knowledge, and then this is my interpretation. So any corrections are more than welcome. So yeah, that's the right to privacy. Basically covered off, and the attacks to honour and reputation are kind of, that's where you're coming more from, like slander, libel, defamation of character. Those kind of angles are really what's covered off there. And obviously the last bit is, if someone does it, then it's the law's duty to step in. Don't go all vigilante. So Article 13. Again, pretty straightforward, even though it is two parts. It's basically saying you can, sort of go where you want. Really, the country, the country boundary is not your limit. As a human being, you're not required to stay in the town or city or country that you were born in. I'm actually currently investigating this in detail with regards to passport costs, because the fact that they're so high could be a limiting factor to the second part of this, sort of section 2, if you will. So I'm kind of curious about that one, because if they're inhibiting it in too great a way, it could be an issue. So I'll let you know how that one goes. Article 14. So yeah, it's right to asylum, really. You know, if there are political regimes and oppression occurring in your country, then yes, by all means, you can seek asylum, which is a good thing. Now, the second part is obviously, you know, you can't necessarily seek asylum just because someone once robbed you or something like that, or, you know, if you've basically done things that are against simple human decency and human rights, then don't expect to be given those rights, or at least that right. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Article 15. So again, straightforward. You know, you generally, if you're born in a country, you generally have your nationality at that point. And, you know, unless there's good reason, you can change that. You know, and you know, people say, oh, it's right, so I can just perhaps just go to Botswana because I want to be Botswanan. You know, it's one of those things where countries are kind of like, well, you have to really be a citizen. You know, you can't just kind of go, I want to be this today. And that's fair. I don't feel that's arbitrary at all. I think that just stops a lot of silliness. So Article 16. So yeah, this is the one where the whole sort of same-sex marriages issue really comes into play, because this is the one that's often quoted back at the state, and it doesn't specify men and women of full age, as in that is the union. That's saying, you know, that can be interpreted, and that's the problem with a lot of these. It's interpretation, and that's why I'm giving my interpretation. My interpretation is you're saying technically everyone, you know, men and women of full age have the right to marry and found a family, not men and women of full age. I can acknowledge entirely where it can be interpreted as one man, one woman. And that's why I'm very awkward to argue with, because I can always see both sides. But, you know, so, and it does say, you know, they're entitled to equal rights as to marriage, and that bit is often used, if you like, again, as the counterpoint of equal rights, you see, to marriage. And, you know, the second point kind of, I suppose, puts arranged marriages into a bit of question, because the free and full consent of the intending spouses. Now, with an arranged marriage, if you're kind of going, I don't really want to, that's not consenting. So it does put a bit of a tricky one on it. So, and obviously, you know, the fact that the family is an important thing, and yes, it is. You know, it's entirely related to the continuation of the species. So whether you believe in a nuclear family, or not, you know, if your version of family is different, then, you know, still they are saying it is the fundamental group of society. That's where society begins. Article 17. So yeah, you want to own stuff, you can own stuff. That's it. It's a lot of these, you know, you kind of like, sounds a bit sounds a bit wordy, sounds a bit complex, but you actually just break it down. This just says, yeah, you can have stuff by yourself, or if you want to get it with someone else, that's cool, you do that. So for example, a house that you and going back to the previous one, a spouse acquire for your family. There you go. That's joint property. You know, or like a phone or a camera. Why not use what's in front of me? But yeah, a camera, you know, something like that you just go and buy yourself. That's fine, that's yours. But obviously the second part of this is, you know, no one shall be arbitrarily, I like that, arbitrarily, because that's a word they like to use a lot. It's basically, you know, if you just go and steal something from someone because you want to, that's not good. You can expect to be taken to task for that, basically. You know, by the laws of whatever state you belong to. But this is where it gets a bit kind of tricky, as I say, because it's what is arbitrary to me can be perfectly rational to you. In some cases, take for example the small starving child who steals a loaf of bread to feed him and perhaps even his family, you know, because the rest, say his parents are ailing, or maybe he's only got his mother around, she's not well, so he's the most able, and he steals a loaf of bread for that purpose. That's not arbitrary. Yes, he's depriving the shop owner of that property and therefore the ability to sell on that loaf of bread, but he's doing it for a greater good. You know, this is where, as I say, a lot of it is interpretative, and that's my take on it. Really, I do think that kind of thing is a lot more acceptable than just going, well, I've got my 40-inch TV, but I'd like a 52-inch, and I know that guy down the street bought one 2 weeks ago. I'm going to steal that. No, that's not essential. That's arbitrary. But anyway, yeah. So next time, 18 onwards, if I can manage to finish it, I will. If not, as I say, then probably look into 2 videos, which is fine with me. But as I always say, you know, if you have enjoyed this, please pass it on. You know, awareness is the first point to understanding, and you know, chuck us a subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Basically, take care.